Leaders in France, Germany, Norway and the UK have all denounced tech giant Elon Musk.
Elon Musk versus the world fights back. Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. I hope you are watching this on Rumble, our home, and I hope you use Rumble Premium. But you could be watching it on Facebook now because it's a brave new world where our content is once again welcomed everywhere. The world is changing so quickly, and a significant contributor to this change has to, of course, be Elon Musk. Elon Musk, whose alliance with Donald Trump definitely, I would say, expedited Trump's election. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that. Now he's turned his attention to UK politics and has found a lot of raw material to critique when looking at our nation. Some people, Jordan Peterson, for example, who told Piers Morgan that the UK is becoming a kind of a state and place of ridicule. I don't live in the United Kingdom anymore because I personally have experienced how the media, government and judiciary, if you suddenly become an inconvenience, will find ways to attack and shut you down. Let's have a look at how the EU have turned against Elon Musk. Let's talk about Elon Musk's power as a private citizen and compare it to the power, say, of George Soros, Bill Gates, and decide for ourselves whether or not Elon Musk should be shut down. Certainly the EU want him shut down. Let's see what they're saying. So, this is from a British newspaper called The Telegraph. Brussels, which is where the EU is situated, is considering punishing Elon Musk, will punish you, over his alleged interference in the German elections now. The European Commission is under mounting pressure to use its legal powers over social media platforms to rein in the tech billionaire ahead of next month's ballot. What we're experiencing, I reckon, is ways of circumventing globalist power. Globalist power was coordinating conventional, centralized, traditional legacy media to ensure that ideas that were favorable to the outcomes they desired, particular wars, particular policies when it came to migration, particular policies when it came to censorship, were supported in their media. The rise of social media and the emergence of a figure like Elon Musk is a wrecking ball in their citadel of sensorial chandeliers. There's an image for you. What I was trying to think of is sort of like that Superman palace thing where he goes to regenerate, and imagine that being made out of, I don't know, Klaus Schwab's frozen snot. That stuff is being broken apart. I'm not suggesting that what will emerge out of it is somehow sublime or supreme. I'm just saying what we're experiencing is the quaking and shaking of technological feudalism. They are experiencing a shakedown, and at the masthead of this is Elon Musk. There are fears across the European Union that Musk is trying to embolden the far right and peddling pro-Kremlin propaganda. In recent weeks, Musk has declared Alternative for Germany the last vestige of hope. That's a political party there, of course, as well as inviting Alice Weidel, the hard right party's candidate for Chancellor, for a one-on-one interview hosted on his platform ahead of the February 23 ballot. All this really is we used to be in charge of what platforms and what political figures and parties got elevated and amplified. Not you. How dare you start meddling with the machinery? Now, Elon Musk, I'm not suggesting that Elon Musk is right. I'm just saying, well, why are you upset that someone else is doing what you've always done? Is Elon Musk essentially different from previous media magnates who were always courted and consorted and used to control public opinion? Or is he just different by a matter of magnitude because the technology has changed? So now instead of leafing through a newspaper, people are looking at their phones, and Elon Musk has near continual access to a significant number of populations across the world. So we're seeing the emergence of a new force. It's pretty fascinating if you ask me. The Commission said that Musk was responsible for any different systemic risks posed by their services, including risks for electoral processes when publishing content on X. This includes the obligation to analyse and mitigate risks deriving from any preferential treatment or visibility given to content on a given platform. What we're experiencing now is the bureaucratic scramble, an attempt to control an outlier and potential bull in the china shop of their systems of control. We've already seen Zuckerberg kowtow and say, oh, those fact checkers and those complex systems and those filters were causing a lot of problems. And now what we're beginning to experience is we're seeing bureaucracies fight back. This is, like The Empire Strikes Back, except it's bureaucracies. They're trying to use the power that they were so confident would be able to be used as a chokehold on public freedom and public free speech, now that the opposition has significantly emerged. Let's have a look at some conventional media on this.
In Europe, leaders in France, Germany, Norway and the UK have all denounced tech giant Elon Musk's political power.
Brilliant. They're all coming together like, oh no, Elon Musk. Now look, my personal opinion, for what it's worth, is like, I don't know enough about Elon Musk and his agenda and what he believes, but what I do believe in is anything that creates fractures in the agenda that we were previously ensnared by. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won the election in the United States. Do you think that Zuckerberg will be going, we're getting rid of the fact checkers? Or do you think we'd be seeing more censorship? Do you think that there would be an inquiry into how the pandemic was handled? Do you think that we'd be seeing Zelensky talking to Lex Friedman and saying, oh yeah, I think there could be a peaceful solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Now, we don't know, cannot know what the intentions of these elites are. But what I'm sensing now that we're seeing the peeling away of that old order, the technological feudalism that used care and concern to control free speech and control freedom more broadly, that is being significantly disrupted. It's over in the United States of America. Over. Now we're seeing the old European powers come together to see if they can prevent it from spreading in their nations. Trudeau, gone. Like at the end, we're seeing massive fluctuations and changes. It's pretty fascinating and exciting for me. And whilst I'm not what you would call a conventional nationalist, I do believe that nationalism is the first bulwark against globalism. So I can understand why there is a resurgent nationalism. Also, I can understand that a lot of people are concerned about subjects like migration. I've always believed that global corporatism is a greater threat to migration and likely significantly causes it. And I've always hoped that the focus of the conversation when it comes to popular uprisings and populist uprisings would focus more on centralized powers like the power of big tech giants, actually. But this big tech giant seems to be causing so much chaos and disruption that I can't help but at least admire some of the consequences. Let's have a look at how Keir Starmer and various leaders of the great European powers are contending with this new phenomenon. Most coffee out there is basically the liquid equivalent of a participation trophy. Bland, mass-produced, utterly forgetful. But peaberry beans, they're not here to play nice. You get yourself that peaberry, you'll know you've been caffeinated. It's 1775, baby. These rare little rebels make up less than 10% of the entire coffee harvest. Instead of sticking to the crowd, they grow solo, resulting in a denser, more intense bean that doesn't just follow the herd. These beans are grown at high altitudes and are hand-picked at their peak, because if you're going to do something, do it right, yeah? Do them beans right. Thanks to their unique solo act, peaberries deliver richer flavours, a smoother finish, and a touch more caffeine to keep you sharp and focused, like the universe intended. This isn't your corporate coffee sludge. This is for those who see through the nonsense and demand a cup that's as real as it gets. Why settle for anything less than the sweetest peaberries, those rarest among beans? So if you're tired of sipping on mediocrity, go to 1775coffee.com. Use my special code BRAND to get 15% off. Don't just wake up properly to 1775. Revolutionary coffee in the revolution against mediocrity.
The statements from the global leaders are in response to Mr. Musk's political skirmishes on social media, the most recent one being aimed at British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
So funny because he's like all just dancing around. It's a new kind of energy, isn't it? It's a new type of chaos. You can recognise there's something essential happening here. It's trickster energy has re-entered this kind of centralised tyrannical force. We were moving in the direction of like NATO declaring that there are going to be more and more wars, the WHO declaring there are going to be more and more taxes and more control, the WEF legitimising a sort of set of billionaires transcending. Now, I'm not naive. I know there are billion. I know what Elon Musk is. I know what Peter Thiel is. I know what Mark Zuckerberg is doing, as best as I can understand from where I'm sat. But what is definitely happening is a shift in power, and I feel that out of that shift of power, the one true power may emerge. More of that in a minute.
The billionaire who owns X has shared a series of posts critical of the British government after it rejected a call for a public inquiry into a child sex grooming scandal.
We don't want to be inquiring into child sex grooming scandals. We've not got all day to be inquiring into child sex grooming scandals. Do you not think I've got better things to do with my time than to inquire into child sex grooming scandals? Child sex grooming scandals are pretty important, I would say. Michael Schellenberger, writing in Public on his Substack, had this to say, and I guess he's citing the broad opinions. Elon Musk is undermining democracy and interfering in elections, alleged foreign leaders and mainstream news media yesterday. In a major speech, French President Emmanuel Macron accused Musk of acting to intervene directly in elections. Well, how did Macron handle the Gilets jaunes or Yellow Vest protests? How is Macron handling a revitalised French nationalist movement? How does Macron handle the farmers in his country? Do you, let me know in the comments and chat, respect those leaders one iota, or believe that they are governing in order to facilitate your personal sovereignty and growth? Or do you see them now just as avatars of globalism entering into spasms as the jig appears to be up? Musk involves himself so directly in the internal affairs of other countries, said Norway's Prime Minister. Hands off our democracy, Mr. Musk, said Germany's economic minister. Musk injects chaos into other countries' political systems, hijacks UK politics, and is throwing grenades, said the Washington Post, the New York Times, and Wall Street Journal. Now, all these things may be true, but I can tell you what's definitely true is the Washington Post, New York Times, EU, British government. These are the old guard. These are the augurs and instigators of old school power. These are the systems that you want to see quaking and shaking, and indeed they are as a result of these tectonic shifts, and that's a good thing. I'm not Nostradamus, so I don't know where all this stuff's leading, but I do know that what they were doing needed to be disrupted, that the pandemic was a seismic moment in our history, and had they got what, look, I'm being reductive and I'm operating within the limitations of language, but sort of, had they got what they were trying to get then, we'd have been in serious trouble. That was a gambit to achieve global power, maximal citizen management, intervention through medical means, total control, and it went wrong because of independent media. And now what they've been doing is trying to find ways of creating new categories, misinformation, disinformation, all that kind of stuff, to shut down the free speech that prevents their power becoming absolutely immersive and unstoppable. Now, though, because of Trump and because of Musk, it ain't working. That's not to say that Trump and Musk are perfect. It's just to say that they're better than what would have happened without them.
This attack directly targeted the British PM, saying he failed to bring what many term rape gangs to justice.
I've got better things to do than bring rape gangs to justice.
During the time he was the Director of Public Prosecutions between the years 2008 and 2013.
Because he was pretty fast, let me tell you, to get people that were accused of rioting, and indeed were doing some rioting, back in 2007 in the UK, when Keir Starmer, as head of the CPS, opened 24-hour courts, tried minors as adults and got a lot of stuff done. There's note too that as leader of the opposition, he said nothing about the incarceration of Julian Assange. Keir Starmer is an old-school globalist. Emmanuel Macron, old-school globalist. Kamala Harris, old-school globalist. Justin Trudeau, old-school globalist. Whatever the assets and attributes of these new players in the emergent power dynamics are, Trump, Musk, etc., they are certainly not part of the old order. Let's see what emerges.
Elon Musk, of course, is a close confidant of US President-elect Donald Trump and has received a consultancy position within the US government. Mr. Musk's political assaults are now getting wide pushback.
Because whenever you see him, he's like just goofing around and stuff, like just dancing on a stage. It's pretty amusing to see them with that, because that's, somewhat old school media reporting on him. We are experiencing the end of old centralized power, the emergence of new elites. Again, it's difficult to make a moral assessment of those new elites, but you can certainly see the kind of priest class of the old order. Even when you're talking about YouTube content creators, they are in a apoplexy of bafflement and confusion themselves as they recognise their cathedrals are collapsing. I believe that authority and integrity come from sublime and divine forces that we can personally access, and no human authority is without its flaws and failings due to the nature of our kind. And I would grant no individual human being or political movement the authority of God, and I would only respect political movements and individuals that recognise their limitations. Perhaps that's what we've got now. Maybe it isn't. There's no evidence, says Schellenberger, writing in public, that Musk has illegally interfered in foreign elections. In every case, what foreign leaders and the media are referring to are posts Musk has made on X and an op-ed he wrote in a German paper. Those op-eds and posts are not only in the US, but also in Germany, France, and the rest of Europe. It's true that Musk asked his 211 million followers whether America should liberate the people of Britain from their tyrannical government, indicated that he may donate 100 million to Britain's Reform Party. That's not happening now, and said only the AfD can save Germany. Well, there you go, man. No one was talking about reining in billionaires when Mark Zuckerberg was playing a different tune, were they? Well, we were actually. We were saying, this is a cause for some concern. And I suppose, too, if Musk is lending his support to various national parties, isn't that by its nature anti-globalist, or do you reckon that there's some sort of subterranean network of these kind of nationalist interests? It's interesting to see Musk say you don't want too much global cooperation, because there's always been the assumption after the great wars of the last century that maximal coordination between the nations was desirable. The UN, the NATO, all of these like bureaucratic organizations, but we're seeing where that's leading, aren't we? We're seeing that it's leading to a globally stratified set of institutions that subvert the national democracies that they were meant to have been implemented in order to protect. You know, NATO, what are they actually up to these days? WHO, what have you done for me lately? IMF, I am effing what? So, but even as the New York Times acknowledged, Musk's tweet about liberating the UK was tongue-in-cheek. Of course it was. British law allows companies, including X and Tesla, to donate to political parties, but Musk said he didn't know if donations would be legal. Either way, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, and his ruling Labour Party don't want Musk to donate. They should change their laws. Interesting idea. I'm not particularly sympathetic towards Keir Starmer for the reasons I just listed. He's the way that he participated in the usurping and overthrow of the very left-wing Jeremy Corbyn, his silence on the incarceration of Julian Assange, who was jailed without trial for 5 years for journalism and for reporting on the corruption and indeed war crimes of numerous governments, and a bunch of other stuff on Keir Starmer as well, but some things that are to do with his private life, and that's no one's business but his.
In Europe, as his political presence on social media becomes more targeted. The French President Emmanuel Macron didn't directly name Mr. Musk in his denouncement, but it appears he did take a swipe at him in an address about foreign policy. He says, who could have imagined 10 years ago that the owner of one of the world's largest social networks would intervene directly in elections, including in Germany?
Dare you! We like to manipulate them elections ourselves. Really, all this is the old order dealing with the emergence of power they cannot control. Again, it's too early for us to say whether or not. Look, you know, I believe in decentralization of power, so I don't think the power should now be coalescing uniformly around Elon Musk and Donald Trump or any nationalist or global interest or set of powers. I believe in your individual freedom, my individual freedom, and the fallibility of all of us as individuals, and that we will only find salvation through Jesus Christ. That's what I believe now. I'm a Christian, so my belief is in alignment with Christian scripture. But on top of that, I believe in your freedom and your right to follow your own religious and spiritual path, and that anything that stands in the way of that is a problem. And the old technological feudalism that was emerging was a massive obstacle to that. They believed that humanity was the apex of all moral authority, and we were seeing the chaos and wreckage that was causing. So figures like Macron and various other globalist leaders that are ultimately members of sects and pacts of bureaucratic power that are now collapsing under the weight of these new emergent populist figures don't get no support from me, and I don't think they should get any support from you either.
Well, in Germany itself, the Chancellor there, Olaf Scholz, name-checked Mr. Musk, casting doubts on the tech billionaire's ability to influence the German people. He said, "We act as if Mr. Musk's statements could influence a country of 84 million people with untruths and half-truths or expressions of opinion. This is simply not the case." And although Norway has been a hub for Mr. Musk's Tesla, its leader, Jonas Gahr Støre, made his opposition to Mr. Musk's political meddling clear, saying, "I find it worrying that a man with enormous access to social media and huge economic resources involves himself so directly in the internal affairs of other countries."
I wouldn't care, though, if he was being broadly supportive of what they cared about. So it's not a moral position. It's just a matter of power and the reorganisation of power. And power, if you ask me, is too great a commodity to be wielded by human beings responsibly.
Well, the tech mogul has even called for the imprisonment of British PM Keir Starmer and the release of far-right activist Tommy Robinson. He's actually serving a prison sentence for contempt of court.
See, even the category of contempt of court suggests that there is some legitimacy and moral authority to the judiciary. Where is that authority derived from? If you don't trust your leaders, if you don't trust your institutions, if you don't trust your bureaucracy, how can you even have a crime of contempt of court? You can't have it unless you believe that there is something supreme behind that authority. And now people don't believe that because they believe that their institutions and governments and media are totally corrupt, and that's why Elon Musk is having so much traction. If everyone's like, "I love my country," then people would reject it. And of course there are people that hold that position, but I don't think there are enough of them. Here, back to Schellenberger's article in Public. Musk is free not only to express his opinion about AFD, but also to host a conversation with its leader. Back to German politics there. As for Starlink, one of Musk's many financial interests, it's the only space-based internet company capable of providing services. Proof of this fact can be seen in the failure of the Biden administration to use the $42 billion allocated in its Inflation Reduction Act for broadband access, given its apparent unwillingness to contract with Starlink. And neither foreign leaders nor the media raised the alarm as George Soros has spent billions of dollars to influence politics around the world from Europe to the US. Soros financed an anti-Brexit campaign in 2016 in the UK. It's almost as if you have no essential moral problem, you just have a political and strategic problem. Wait a minute, that billionaire has a different agenda from our agenda. Well, he must be a bad billionaire. Soros, though, he seems to be in alignment with them. We'll be doing a deep dive into the impact and influence of George Soros with one of our correspondents on our Rumble stream show next week. His foundation supported a German NGO called Corrective, which spread disinformation about AFD, smearing the party and ordinary German farmers. What's going on with the global farmers? France, England, Canada, USA, India. Almost as if there is some agenda at play. Almost as if there is an attempt to control global food sources. Almost as if there's an attempt to centralize power, which has been disrupted by the rise of populism. Soros was the largest donor to the Democrats in the 2022 midterm elections, giving them nearly $200 million. Globally, Soros has given $32 million around the world for political and policy advocacy, and Soros' influence over public opinion goes far beyond direct political support. Soros-backed operatives have spent the past 8 years embedding themselves in top roles at Wikimedia, reports Ashley Rinsberg yesterday. We will be doing more content with Ashley Rinsberg later this week that you will be able to see. So do you think, let me know in the comments and chat, that the problems that the bureaucrats, the empire and the old globalists have with Elon Musk are to do with him morally, or is it that he's just an opponent to their agenda? It's too early to say whether the rise of populism will be ultimately beneficial to ordinary people across the world, but it isn't too early to say that there was a requirement to oppose globalism, that there was too much power situated in bureaucracies that claimed to be serving ordinary people but ultimately were serving corporate and state interests. And when corporate and state interests combine, we're all in a lot of trouble. So however this plays out, I would say that amidst the chaos that will likely be caused, there's the possibility that we will be beneficiaries. And those of us that look beyond human power, look beyond beyond human institutions for succor, salvation, redemption, and guidance, we'll have an opportunity to convey our beliefs that if you're going to have moral authority, it's best not to place it in any human hands, regardless of their political opinions. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? If you're watching this on Facebook, now that they allow this stuff, if you're watching this on X, because hey, Musk does allow free speech, know that we stream 4 days a week on Rumble. We have our show Break Bread, where you can see my conversations with Dallas Jenkins, Tucker Carlson, and a variety of high-profile Christians as we talk about the resurgent influence of Christianity on global political affairs and on individual salvation. So join us for that. That's Break Bread, which is available on Rumble Premium. More important than any of that is, if you can, please stay free.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.